Hey guys, today we are making yellow cupcakes with a Nutella mousse frosting. I don't know about you, but that sounds delicious to me. It's like addicting. Once you have one of these, you just want to keep having more and more, and it's just so good. The yellow cupcake on its own is delicious. It's light, it is soft, it is fluffy. It is delicious on its own, but that Nutella frosting, man, it's actually more of like a mousse, so you can actually just eat it as a snack. It's that good. Let's go right ahead and get started. In a bowl here, I have 1 stick of softened butter. It's really important that your butter is really soft at room temperature. You can leave it out for hours until it becomes really soft, or pop it in the microwave for about 25 to 30 seconds. You don't want your butter to be melted, you just want it to be softened. To that, we're going to add in our sugar. We're going to be adding in 3/4 cups of sugar. I am using pure cane sugar, but of course you can just use white or granulated sugar. Now I'm going to be making this with just a whisk today. Of course you can pull out your hand mixer or your stand mixer for this, but I wanted to show you just how easy it is to make this with just a whisk. You don't have to do all that stuff. So if all you have is a whisk, you can make this, okay? So I'm going to just whisk together my butter and my sugar. Once your butter is really nice and soft at room temperature, this should be a complete breeze to mix together. I mean, you will have to put a little bit of elbow grease on there, maybe because I'm just completely and totally out of shape. But you want to mix this for about 2 minutes or so, just until it starts to get smooth. Just whisk this together for about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, as best as you can. And use your hand mixer if you can, about 5 minutes if you have a mixer, because the longer you incorporate that butter and sugar, it's going to help give you a much fluffier cupcake. If you have little ones that love to help you in the kitchen, this is the perfect time to, have them help you, so you can get a break. Now I'm adding in my vanilla. I am adding in 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. You really want that vanilla flavor in there. I get this big giant jug of vanilla from Amazon, and I'll see if I can link it down below, because the price is really great for the amount of vanilla that you're getting. And the amount of vanilla that I use, I need a lot of vanilla. But you definitely want some vanilla flavor. If you're using vanilla bean paste, you still want about 1 to 2 tablespoons of that in there, because this is a yellow cupcake and the flavor is just going to be that vanilla flavor. After you've added in the vanilla, it becomes a little bit easier to mix together, obviously. And now we're going to add in our eggs, a whole lot of eggs. But we're just going to be using the egg yolks of this, and that's going to be giving this the beautiful bright yellow color of these cupcakes. We're going to be using 5 large egg yolks. So I'm going to go ahead and separate my egg yolks from my egg whites. And now we're just going to go ahead and mix this in. If you want, you can just season your egg whites with salt and pepper and fry it up, and it is delicious, especially if you like the white part of a fried egg or a boiled egg. I mean, it's delicious. Just mix those yolks in, and you can see how the color intensifies into this beautiful yellow color. Now, if you really want to enhance, maybe like a store-bought yellow cupcake or a Twinkie or something, I mean, these are going to be yellow and golden yellow as it is, but if you want to, I use sometimes, if I really need to, this food coloring. It is a natural food coloring. There's no artificial dyes in there, and there is a yellow color. I did get that on Amazon. It's really a good price, especially if you definitely want to have food coloring on hand that is not artificial. I'll see if I can link that below for you as well. I do not need to add any food coloring to this, because it is going to have a beautiful yellow color on its own. But if you are going for a certain kind of theme, or you want a specific kind of like bright, vibrant, like popping yellow, then you do you. But I'll leave that link down below, just in case that you would need that in anything. So we've mixed that for about a minute, just to incorporate all of those egg yolks into our butter and our sugar and vanilla. And we're pretty much almost done. It takes about 5 minutes to put this together. It's so easy. You want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I just scraped the sides and the bottom of my bowl to make sure that everything was incorporated. And I'm just going to sift in my dry ingredients. Now I'm going to be using cake flour for this because it does help with a light fluffy cupcake. If you don't have cake flour, you can make your own. It's really not difficult to make your own at all just by taking some out and adding in some cornstarch. I did make a recipe a long time ago for that, and I'll see if I can link that down below if I remember. If you can only use all-purpose flour, go ahead and use the all-purpose flour. This is the cake flour that I use. This is usually what I can find in the store. But the cake flour is going to give you a light, fluffy cupcake. So we're adding in 1 cup of cake flour, and to that I'm going to add in my baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and we're just going to sift our dry ingredients in. Now I'm going to add in my milk. I'm using 1/2 cup of whole milk. And we're just going to go ahead and mix this in together. Using a spatula at this point, you don't want to whisk this because you don't want to overmix it. And just mix it in until it is all incorporated and nice and smooth. Again, you don't want to overmix this, so I'm just mixing this in until I get everything. You're scraping the sides, the bottom, making sure there's no huge clumps of flour in there. Again, my oven is already preheated to 350 degrees. And I have my cupcake tray here with my cupcake liners. I'm just going to be using 1 ice cream scoop per container. Now, I wasn't planning on doing a voiceover for this, so at this point while I was actually doing this, I was telling you how I serve this. So let me go do it right now while I'm doing a voiceover. What I like to do is you want these cupcakes to stay light and fluffy, and you want your Nutella mousse to stay chilled in the fridge. I keep my cupcakes stored at room temperature in a sealed container, and I keep my Nutella mousse in the piping bag or in a bowl or something in the refrigerator. And as soon as I'm ready to serve these, I pipe my frosting on. It takes a second or 2 or maybe 5 seconds to pipe per cupcake, so it takes no time whatsoever unless you really are trying to get fancy with it. It can take a little bit longer, but the point is you want your Nutella to be chilled and you want your cupcake to be at room temperature. So the cupcake is really light and fluffy, and you have this chilled, delicious mousse frosting. So I like to store my cupcakes in a container at room temperature, and I like to store my either in the piping bag, the frosting in the piping bag, or in a bowl or whatever in the fridge. And as I'm ready to serve this, I will pipe them on and serve them immediately. If you need a little bit of time, you can pipe these and put them in the fridge just for about 5 minutes. The frosting holds beautifully, even though it is more of a mousse than a frosting. However, you do want those cupcakes to stay light and fluffy. So I'm just going to pop this in my oven. It is going to take about 20 to 21 minutes or so to bake. You do not want to over bake these because, of course, we want them to be light and fluffy, because a yellow cupcake really should be light and fluffy. You can see it's beautiful and golden yellow in color. We used no food coloring whatsoever on this. It is just the natural color from the egg yolks that gives it a beautiful color. We have to let these cool completely before we put our little mousse topping on top because, of course, it can melt it. But let's go ahead and make this one time while you set that aside to cool, and go ahead and make your frosting. I have 6 ounces of softened cream cheese. Here, you can just cut the block. It's usually 8 ounce and it has marks on it. Just cut it and either set the 6 ounces out aside, or you can pop it in your microwave, take it out of the aluminum packaging, please, if you're gonna pop it in the microwave, and just 30 seconds microwave it until it is nice and smooth. We're gonna mix it till it is nice and smooth. So that is 6 ounces of softened cream cheese. mixed till it's nice and smooth. And then now we're going to go ahead and add in our Nutella. Now this is not a light cupcake in calorie wise. This is not something you really want to eat when you're having a diet or anything. Of course, one cupcake probably isn't going to be too bad, and it really is delicious, so it's worth it. But it's perfect for a gathering. It's perfect for a get together or anything like that, because you're not going to have all of it on your own. But it is delicious. So we're adding in a half a cup of Nutella, and we're going to mix that in. Mix in your Nutella and your cream cheese before we add in any ingredients so it becomes nice and smooth. And now I'm going to sift in my powdered sugar. Again, I'm sifting this in so there's no lumps, so everything remains nice and smooth. I will have all the amounts listed below in the description box to help you guys out. We're going to sift in our powdered sugar. After we have sifted, I can't speak again. After we have sifted in our powdered sugar, I'm going to go ahead and add in my heavy cream. And just get your mixer. Actually, don't get your mixer. Use your spatula at first and mix this with your spatula at first, because if you use your mixer at this point, that thing is going to go splattering everywhere, okay? Even if you go on the lowest speed, there's going to be a little bit of splatter. So I like to just use the what is that called? The spatula, just to kind of get everything incorporated. Then I go in with my mixer and I start incorporating it. And within about 3 minutes or so, it will come together beautifully. Within 10 seconds, it'll start thickening up beautifully. But just mix it for about 2 to 3 minutes. You do not want to overmix heavy cream, of course. But you can see just how amazing that looks. Oh my gosh, if I could just eat that with a spoon, I'd be happy. I really would. I mean, you can make that as a dessert on its own. Just serve it in these little tiny, cups or something. I don't know. Delicious, guys. Delicious. Okay, just mix that so it's nice and smooth. Take about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Do not overmix it. Now, it's really important that this frosting or this mousse or whatever you want to call it is completely chilled before frosting. So I recommend making this a day before and leave it in the fridge overnight. Now, if you are like me and super impatient and you cannot wait to have a cupcake, you can let it chill for about an hour or so in the fridge. It is going to be a little bit more on the runnier consistency than if you let it chill overnight, but it will still hold its shape beautifully. We're not going to be piping swirls or anything with this. But yes, so I am using a tip 2A for the frosting, which is just a big round tip. You can see after about an hour or 2 hours in the fridge, it still is, it's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so I put my tip in my piping bag, put my piping bag in a cup, placed in my frosting, and I'm just gonna put on one big dollop in the center, pressing so it kind of spreads out. Leave a little bit of room around the border because it will spread out a little bit more. And then you have this, oh my god, it's so cute. I just love it. Now for our little drizzle, that is optional, of course. I'm using tip number 5 for this that I've placed in my piping bag. I'm just gonna add about maybe a tablespoon of Nutella to this. You don't need too much because I don't like to add too much drizzle, but I mean, it depends on how much cupcakes you are frosting, of course. And if you're going to do all of them at one time, you want to add maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons. I was not serving all of this at one time, of course. And I just did little stripes on it, whatever you want to do. Get as fancy as you want. Now, I don't know if you've ever had one of these Kinder cookies or Kinder Buenos. I just have one of those mini ones that I'm going to top it with. You can get a whole bag of this as well and top on each cupcake. And the filling on the inside of this Kinder Bueno is very similar to the mousse topping that we made, and it is delicious. It's really easy to put the cupcake together. The frosting is actually not that difficult to make. The hardest part was just putting everything in the bags and the tips and all that. But either way, now this is the following day after I did have a cupcake because I didn't have enough patience to wait the first day. But this was overnight. You can see that it is a little bit more firm. It is still a mousse consistency, very airy, very light and fluffy, and it is delicious. That's all that matters, is that it's delicious. So I will have all the amounts listed below in the description box for you. I will have that vanilla and that food coloring for you linked below as well, if that's something that you would be interested in and just keeping in your pantry. And I hope that you give this a try. It is perfect for any special occasion. It's a crowd pleaser. It is a wow cupcake. It looks amazing and it tastes amazing. And I will see you guys next time.